Sandy consented to recount a story of an ancient world in an ancient time. Our storyteller begins, I'm going to tell you about the Ramayana, a story with all the excitement and intrigue than any modern drama or Shakespearean play. The Ramayana is one of two major Sanskrit epics of ancient India, the other being the Mahabharata. The version of the Ramayana I will retell to you tonight was credited to the Maharishi Valmiki. He recounts the life of Rama, a legendary prince of Ayodhya city in the kingdom of Kosala in this story told as a narrative. This epic follows Rama's 14-year exile by his father King Dasharatha to the forest. Sandy paused briefly to let everyone get a cold beverage from the open slab and find their seat around the fire pit. The girls snuggled together in a sleeping bag next to the fire as the temperature began to drop considerably. The Ramayana has nearly 24,000 verses, divided into 7 kandas or chapters. The first and last being later additions. I will need to paraphrase a bit. Updating religious documents for modern times can't be seen as all bad, can it? Cheesy asked and Sandy chuckled. The Ramayana belongs to the genre of itihasa or incidents that happened during the lifetime of the narrator, rather than being purafta or historic to the writer. Therefore, we can assume Maharishi Valmiki was present in the day when the Ramayana occurred. We may also consider it fact. The events took place during a period known as Treta Yuga. In the timeline known as the Yugas, you can consider a period perhaps 3 million years ago. That could indicate a wide range of time. In the Treta Yuga, even mortal humans lived 1,000 years. How did it all happen, Sandy? I asked. Brahma was considered to be the creator, God within the Trimurti, the trinity of supreme divinity that included Vishnu and Shiva. He creates but neither preserves nor destroys anything. Those are Vishnu and Shiva's jobs. One such job for Vishnu was to deal with a demon who was causing problems for the sages. They were being prevented from performing their sacrifices or conducting their yajnas. Ravana and his brothers performed penance at Gokarna for several years to please Brahma. Ravana went so far as to sacrifice each of his heads in the holy fire to please the Creator. Sandy told us. How many did he have? Magda asked. He continued, right before he was about to chop off his 10th head, Brahma appeared to grant him a boon. Ravana asked for the boon of immortality, but Brahma said that was not possible as all that is born has to perish. Ravana tweaked his wish. Though Brahma initially granted Ravana boons that made him very powerful, he asked Vishnu for help in defeating Ravana when Ravana began to use his powers for evil. Later, Brahma takes it upon himself to remind Rama of his divinity. Why was Brahma taking an interest in Ravana? Krista asked. Sandy continued, Brahma created his children from his mind and thus, they were referred to as Manasaputra. On earth, Ravana's lineage could be traced back to the mighty Lord Brahma. His grandfather was sage Palastya, one of the 10 mind-born sons of Brahma. That made Ravana the great-grandson of Brahma. Why was Ravana so bad? I asked. The demon king Sumali once spotted Kubera, the son of sage Vishrava. He was so taken by him that he instructed his daughter to obtain sons through Vishrava. Obeying her father's command, she made the request of sage Vishrava who obliged but warned her one would be bad because she had approached him at the wrong hour of the day. That's how Ravana came to be half Asura and half Brahman, but all bad. So, Vishnu agreed to be reborn on earth as an avatar or reincarnation of himself in the form of Rama, as you will see. According to the Ramayana, Rama is the 7th avatar of Vishnu, while his brothers Lakshmana, Bharata and Shatrana will be avatars of Shishanaga, Panchayanya, and the Sudarshana Chakra respectively. Weapons. The Balakanda or first chapter of Valmiki's Ramayana details stories of Rama's childhood as a prince under King Dasharatha of Ayodhya. Before we get there, let's look at the events that led to his birth. The king Dasharatha had 3 wives, Kaushalya, Kaikeyi and Sumitra. However, they didn't have a son, and in his desire to create an heir, he decided to perform a fire sacrifice known as the Putrakamashti Yajna. What does that involve, Sandy? I love hearing about these yajnas, Cheesy noted. Krista the spirit caster jumped in, I could have given him a good price on a fire sacrifice. And everyone laughed. Shiva was eager to get a glimpse of baby Vishnu. King Dasharatha didn't allow ogles, so Shiva disguised himself as a sadhu, astrologer, singer and more but couldn't catch a peek. Every yajna involves a fire sacrifice, no matter what else it involves. Some can cost millions and last years. This Putrakamashti yajna was conducted by Rishyashringa to obtain sons for the childless Dasharatha. Upon its successful completion, the god of fire, Lord Agni, would emerge from the flames carrying a golden vessel filled with divine payasam. King Dasharatha provided his queens with a portion, each in turn. First was Queen Kausalya, who was instructed to drink half of the payasam. Queen Kausalya is considered to be the incarnation of Dara, wife of Dronavasu. She had received a boon from Vishnu previously that promised her that Vishnu would be born as her son in the Treta Yuga. She was the mother of Rama, the avatar of Vishnu. Next was the wise Sumitra, was the second queen consort of Dasharatha, the king of Kosala. She received a quarter or half of that which remained. Queen Kaikeyi received an eighth, which again was half of that which remained. That still leaves an eighth, doesn't it? I asked. Yes, the final eighth was given to Sumitra, who having received two portions became the mother of twin sons, Lakshmana and Shatrana. Kaikeyi gave birth to Bharata. Uncle Artis, who had been listening intently from the background, asked, "So all of these young fellas are princes, you say?" "Indeed, Artis, they are that and so much more, for the sons are endowed, to varying degrees, with the essence of the Supreme Trinity entity Vishnu. They are all avatars of Vishnu in his weapons. Ravana could only be destroyed by a mortal, so Vishnu had no choice but to take mortal form. If you see one of the Indian gods with an abundance of faces, those are avatars or representations of that god, usually when they come to earth as a mortal. They usually come to prevent an earth-ending demon apocalypse. If you notice, some of them only have room for one more head," Sandy said, and then continued. "The boys were brought up as the princes of the realm, receiving instructions in the scriptures and in warfare from the sage Vashishtha. When Rama reached 16, sage Vishwamitra came to the court of King Dasharatha seeking his assistance against demons which were disturbing his sacrificial rites. When the boys were 16, Shiva arrived in Ayodhya as Madari, an entertainer with a street monkey. The monkey was Hanuman, who had been born at the time of Rama as an avatar of Shiva. The news of the monkey earned a command performance at the palace. Shiva, as Madari, was blissful on seeing Vishnu in child form. Rama was impressed by Hanuman and wished the monkey for himself, which Shiva was only too happy to comply with. When Rama was 16, Shiva was curious to see Vishnu in the form of Rama. Sandy said, and Cheesy interrupted, "If you were a monkey, Sandy, I'd want to see you." So, by disguising himself as a monkey trainer traveling under the moniker of Madari, he went to the court of King Dasharatha to perform with his trained monkey Hanuman, son of Anjana. And Krista asked, "Anjana was Hanuman's mother, right?" "Yes, and she was a big fan of Shiva, so she happily gave her child into his custody for the deception." In reality, Hanuman was an avatar of Shiva, as was Madari the monkey trainer. Rama was impressed by Hanuman and wished the monkey for himself. That was a request Shiva was happy to comply with. Hanuman was then a companion of Rama until Hanuman left Ayodhya and joined the services of Vali and Sugriva of Kishkinda, the monkey kingdom. That, however, is a story for another day. Sandy took a drink, then continued. Sage Vashishtha was known for his feud with sage Vishvamitra. The king Vishvamitra coveted Vashishtha's divine cow Nandini, who could fulfill material desires. Sage Vashishtha destroyed sage Vishvamitra's army and sons. Vishvamitra then acquired weapons from Shiva and incinerated Vashishtha's hermitage and sons, but he baffled all of Vashishtha's weapons. The battle was fought because King Sudas of Bharata appointed Vashishtha instead of Vishvamitra as his main priest. Sage Vishvamitra took severe penances for thousands of years and became a Brahmarshi. He reconciled with sage Vashishtha. Sandy told us. 1,000 years of penance. How long can sages live? Magda asked. Some are immortal, it varies. Getting back to the story, when sage Vishwamitra comes to King Dasharatha for help, the boys are 16 years old. Vishwamitra chooses Rama, who is always followed around by his brother and shadow Lakshmana. Lakshmana will be Rama's constant companion throughout this story. Before going after Ravana, sage Vishvamitra provides Rama and Lakshmana instructions, as well as supernatural weapons to destroy the demon Tataka and many other demons they will meet along the way, sealing their greatness at an early age. Who is Tataka? Krista asked. In the forest, there was a broad class of nature spirits known as the Yakshas. They are usually benevolent, connected with water, fertility, trees, the forest, treasure, and wilderness. A Yaksha named Suketu granted Tataka's mother a daughter with the strength of 1,000 elephants named Tataka, but not a son. When she became of age, Tataka was married to Sunda, and gave birth to her own son named Maricha. Tataka and her children, Maricha and Sabahu, would harass and attack sages while they were performing their various yajnas in the forest. They attacked the seer Agastya, who cursed Marika to become a Rakshasa and cursed Tataka to become an ugly man-eater. To attract Tataka, Rama simply twanged his bowstring, and she is on him like down on a duck. Rama shot and killed her with a single arrow to the chest. After Takata's death, Maricha runs off to Lanka to tell Ravana what has just transpired. You haven't heard the last of him though, Sandy told us and took a breath. He turned Maricha into a Rakshasa. Uncle Arthur inquired. Rakshasas were a race of mostly malevolent beings that resided on Earth, but possessed supernatural powers which they used for evil acts like disrupting sacrifices or eating humans. Many sages found themselves in vendettas with Rakshasas. The Rakshasas were a populous race of both good and evil. Powerful warriors, expert magicians, and amazing illusionists. As warriors they fought alongside the armies of both good and evil. As shape changes, they could assume different physical forms. As illusionists, they were capable of creating appearances which were real to those who believed in them or who failed to dispel them. Cloud the mind, Magda said. Some man-eater Rakshasas made their gleeful appearances when the slaughter on a battlefield was at its worst. Sandy added. In another part of India, not known to Rama, Janaka, the king of Mithila, was out ploughing his field, as kings often did in those days, when a female child appeared in the deep furrow dug by his plough. Uncle Arthur interjected, "That's not where the little blighters come from in the top end, Sandy," in his best Aussie accent. Nevertheless, he was overwhelmed with joy at the miraculous gift of the gods. The child was named Sita, which is the Sanskrit word for furrow, and of course, Sita grew up to be a woman of unparalleled beauty and charm. Reminds me of myself, Krista informed the crowd. Sandy continued, with a princess so beautiful, the king needed a valiant suitor to earn her hand. He had to get rid of weak suitors, so he set a high standard for winning Sita's hand, saying, "Whosoever can hold and string the mighty bow of Shiva will win this princess." The king held a contest to see who could lift and wield a heavy bow that had been presented to his ancestors by Lord Shiva. The bow, the Pinaka, was the celestial bow of the deity Shiva. He used the bow when he was Tripurantaka. The bow was given to Janaka's ancestor, Devarata, after he fought for them in a battle against demons. It had since been kept in the king's family, being worshipped as if it was Shiva himself. A real King Arthur kind of test, Magda said. Lord Shiva none the less. In this case, the victor would be allowed to marry Sita. Sage Vishwamitra took Rama and Lakshmana to the town of Mithila to show them the bow. Of course, Rama lifted it up right away and goes on to wield the bow with such strength that he draws the string back and it broke. Rama not only won the hand of Sita, but it was a 4-for-4 deal with marriages arranged between the sons of King Dasharatha and the daughters of King Janaka. Rama marries Sita of course, while his brother Lakshmana hooks up with Urmila, Bharata ties the knot with Mandavi, and finally, Shatrana takes his nuptials with Shrutakirti. 4 arranged marriages for the price of 1. Krista said, "Can you imagine the dowry?" The weddings were celebrated with great festivity in Mithila, but when the partying was done, the marriage party returned to Ayodhya. Rumors started to surface that King Dasharatha wanted to crown Rama king, and the Kosala assembly and all the king's subjects expressed their agreement. That was too much for King Dasharatha's second wife Kaikeyi, who wanted her son to be king. Errol jumped in, "There's always a strong mother behind a successful son. Or so I've been told." And everyone laughed, but no one laughed harder than his uncle Artis. I thought he was going to spit his beer out through his nose. Cheesy asked, "What's her ace up the sleeve?" And Sandy replied, 2 boons or promises that King Dasharatha had granted her long ago when she nursed him through an illness. Krista added, "She probably caused the illness in the first place." I would have. That makes the treatment a lot easier. And she tilted her head at her sister Magda, who nodded her agreement. "Well, come on, what 2 wishes did she ask for?" Uncle Artis asked, and Errol jumped in, "What would you ask for Uncle Artis? Is he a king or a god? I'd make him bring back the Tassie tiger if he was a god. If he was just a king, bring back the revolution," Uncle Artis replied. Well, Kaikeyi demanded that Rama be exiled into the wilderness for 14 years and her snot-nosed kid Bharata was to become king. That of course breaks King Dasharatha's heart, but he's constrained by his rigid devotion to his given word and grants Kaikeyi her demands. Does Rama take that crap? Errol asked. Yes, Rama accepts his father's reluctant decree with absolute submission and calm self-control. Throughout the Ramayana, Rama is a cool dude. Rama packs up his entourage, Sita his wife and Lakshmana his brother, and they depart for the forest. So, Sita could have stayed in town at the palace but chose to follow her husband. Krista asked. Yes, Krista, that's exactly what she did. Rama asked Sita not to follow him, but as the devoted wife she says, and I quote, "The forest where you dwell is Ayodhya for me, and Ayodhya without you is a veritable hell for me." Sandy quoted. True love is real. Is that the moral of this one, Sandy? Krista asked with a chuckle. Just for you, Krista, I'm happy to say that after Rama's departure, King Dasharatha was unable to bear his grief and passed away. And Krista and Magda clapped. Harsh, I said. Sandy continued, meanwhile back in Ayodhya, Bharata, on a visit to his uncle, learns about how things went down with his mother and the king. It so happens, Bharata was not the snot-nosed prince he had been portrayed to be and refused to profit from his mother's wicked scheming. Everyone cheered. Bharata visited Rama in the forest and asked him to return and rule Ayodhya. Rama says, "Hell no mate, letter of the law and all that. Not before exile ends." Pip pip cheerio. Sandy's English, Aussie, Indian accent made everyone laugh. Bharata wasn't so bad. While Rama was exiled, Shatrughna dragged Kaikeyi's old nurse Manthara, responsible for poisoning the queen's mind against Rama, and tried to kill her, but he was restrained by Bharata, who felt that Rama would not approve. In the Aranyakanda, after 13 years of exile, Rama, Sita and Lakshmana journey southward along the banks of the river Godavari, where they build cottages and endeavor to live off the land. Sandy told the crowd. "Are any of those places real, Sandy?" Uncle Artis asked. "Oh yes. The Godavari is India's second longest river after the Ganga, with the source in Maharashtra. It flows east for 1,500 kilometers. At the Panchavati forest the group was visited by a Rakshasa named Shurpanakha who, unbeknownst to them, was the sister of Ravana the demon. Shurpanakha was the sister of Lanka's king, Ravana, and the daughter of the sage Vishrava and the Rakshasi Kaikeyi. Valmiki described Shurpanakha as facially unpleasant, pot-bellied, wry-eyed, coppery-haired, ugly-featured, brassy-voiced, deplorably oldish, a crooked talker, ill-mannered, uncouth, and abominable. Ravana was enraged with Shurpanakha for marrying a mortal enemy of his, Danava. Just as Ravana was about to kill Shurpanakha, his wife Mandodari and brother Kumbhakarna convinced him to send her to India. There, she met Rama in the forest of Panchavati and was instantly smitten by his good looks. She adopted a beautiful form to entice him, but Rama rejected her advances, telling her that he was faithful to his wife Sita. Rejected by Rama, Shurpanakha then approached Laxman, who also declined her affections. Infuriated by their rejection, Shurpanakha returned to her demonic form and attacked Sita with the intention of doing her bodily harm. However, thwarted by Lakshmana, he cut off her nose and ears. Sandy told us. "I smell vendetta," Cheesy predicted. That led Akampana to go to Lanka and tell Ravana, who then decided in revenge, he would kidnap Sita. "You've been reading ahead, Cheesy G." "No heckling," Sandy admonished him. He coughed and continued. Hearing this, her brothers Kara and Dushan organized an attack against the princes. In that battle, Rama defeats Kara and his Rakshasas. As a final effort, Maricha makes an appearance and assumed the form of a golden deer, which is so beautiful that Sita must have it. He knew Krista just had to jump in. "Oh yeah, shiny trinkets." Feigning to be dyslexic. On seeing the wondrous deer, Lakshmana sensed foul play and suggested that the deer was an illusory form of Maricha, but Sita persuaded Rama to get her the deer, dead or alive. He chased the deer into the forest, leaving Sita under Lakshmana's guard. Rama seized the opportunity and shot it down with his golden arrow. When the dying Maricha was returning to his real form, he cried out, "Oh Sita! Oh Lakshmana!" in the voice of Rama. Sita tells Lakshmana Rama is calling out to her and she is afraid for his life. She insists Lakshmana rush to Rama's aid. "Don't go mate, she's playing you," Cheesy shouted. Lakshmana tried to assure Sita that Rama couldn't be hurt that easily and he should follow Rama's orders and protect her. However, on the verge of hysterics, Sita insists Rama needs Lakshmana's help. Ultimately, he obeys her wish, but stipulates that she's not to leave the cottage or entertain any strangers. Sandy informed the anxious crowd. "Oh yes, that door-to-door brush salesman," Cheesy said. Lakshmana draws a chalk outline around the cottage and casts a spell on it to prevent anyone from entering the boundary but allows people to exit. "Yeah, he trusts her all right. Or maybe he knows the brush salesman," Krista suggested. With the coast finally clear, Ravana appears in the guise of a religious pilgrim requesting Sita's hospitality. Sita is tricked into leaving the circle and is forcibly carried away by Ravana. Sandy recounted. "A religious pilgrim selling brushes to pay his way to Nirvana or Shangri-La." Cheesy told the rest of us. Jatayu, a vulture, saw what was happening and tried to rescue Sita, but he was mortally wounded. He did manage to tell his brother about it though. Sita was taken to Lanka and kept under the guard of Rakshasas. In his garden on Lanka, Ravana tried to convince Sita to marry him, but she refused because she was eternally devoted to Rama. Meanwhile, back in the forest, Rama and Lakshmana learn about Sita's abduction from Jatayu before he dies and immediately, they set out to save her. During their search for Sita, they encounter Kabanda and Shabari. Sandy sat back and took a drink from his stubby. Kabanda was a Rakshasa who was killed and freed from a curse by the Rama and his brother. In reality, Kabanda was a Gandharva named Vishvavasu who was cursed to be an ugly, carnivorous demon Rakshasa by Indra, the king of heaven, and sage Ashtavakra. The brothers severed Kabanda's arms and cremated his corpse. Upon his death, Kabanda resumed his Gandharva form and directed Rama to the Rishamukha mountain. He tells him that's where the exiled monkey king Sugriva is hiding from his brother Vali. Kabanda advises Rama to form an alliance with Sugriva, who would be of great assistance in the search for Sita. Sabari was an elderly woman described as an ardently devoted woman who received Rama's blessing due to her bhakti or ninefold devotion towards him. The sage Matanga told her if she offered service to Rama, he would give her darshana. Shabari awaited Rama's arrival for an eternity. Every day, Shabari would go out of her ashram, with the help of a walking stick, and pluck berries for Rama. She would pluck one, taste it and, if it was sweet, she would put it in her basket, discarding the bitter ones. Only the best for Rama. Upon his arrival, Rama chose to visit Shabari over hundreds of other worthy sages and tasted the fruits which she had meticulously collected. Lakshmana raised the concern that Shabari had already tasted these berries and therefore, they were unworthy of eating. Rama replied, "Whomsoever offers a fruit, leaf, flower or some water with love, I partake in it with great joy." Sabari aided them in their search for Sugriva and she received her darshana from Rama. Sugriva was a Varana, which were forest dwellers, humanoid apes, or human-like beings. They were shape-shifters, but in Vanara form, they had beards with extended sideburns, narrowly shaved chin gap, and no moustache. Additionally, they had tails and razor-sharp claws. Their skin and skeleton were enforced with an indestructible vajra, which no earthly element could penetrate. Vali, Sugriva's brother and king of Kishkinda, had a boon that gave him the strength of more than 7.5 million elephants. Vanaras were created by Brahma just for the Ramayana, to help Rama in battle against Ravana. Kishkinda was their kingdom. Rama first met them in Dandaka forest. Rama's quest brought him to Pampa Lake at the foot of Mount Rishamukha where the monkey king Sugriva and his cohorts were hiding. And Magda asked, who were they hiding from? Sugriva was being persecuted by his brother Vali and he suspected Rama and Lakshmana may have been sent by Vali to kill him. He sends Hanuman undercover in the guise of a Brahmin and he casually asks the brothers about themselves. You boys come here often. Was he wearing a trench coat and dark glasses? Krista asked sarcastically. Sandy continued, Hanuman knew in an instant it was Rama and fell to his knees. He took Rama to Sugriva who he befriended. Sugriva needed Rama's help killing his brother Vali and restoring the kingdom of Kishkinda to him. In exchange, Sugriva was supposed to help Rama recover Sita from Ravana. That's a fair deal, Uncle Artis chimed in. You could clearly tell he was enjoying the story, as was Uncle Arthur. Why was he in exile? Sugriva's brother was King Vali, a son of Indra, and the father of Angada. He obtained a boon that allowed him to receive half the strength of his opponents, which made Vali a formidable fighter. He was granted a boon by Brahma after sitting in penance. Vali asked Brahma for a boon such that in any duel, his opponent would lose half his strength to him. Brahma granted the boon happily. Already Vali was extremely powerful and now with this addition, his power was equal to that of 7.5 million elephants as I mentioned earlier. Vali became invincible and it was said that no one could defeat him in head-on battle. One day a raging demon known as Mayavi came to the doors of Kishkinda and challenged Vali to a fight. Valmiki tells us Daitya Maya had an affair with the nymph Hema who gave birth to Mayavi. At any rate, Vali accepted the challenge but when he came forward, Mayavi got terrified and ran into a cave. Vali entered the cave and told Sugriva to wait outside. When Vali did not return and Sugriva heard demonic voices from inside the cave with blood oozing out, Sugriva mistakenly concluded that Vali was dead. Sugriva closed the cave entrance with a large boulder and presumed kingship over Kishkinda. He takes over as king and marries Tara, Vali's wife. However, inside the cave, Vali killed Mayavi and returned home to Kishkinda. Upon seeing Sugriva act as a king, Vali thought his brother had betrayed him. Rejecting Sugriva's explanation, he not only reacquires Tara but also seizes Ruma, Sugriva's wife, in retaliation. Sugriva tried to explain his actions, but Vali wouldn't listen so he ran off to Rishamukha mountain, the only place Vali would be unable to follow because of a curse of the sage Matanga. Sandy told us. Those sages were a cursing bunch, weren't they, Sandy? Uncle Arthur noted. Rama, having heard the story, agreed to help Sugriva regain the monkey kingdom of Kishkinda and then Sugriva would help him save Sita. A wrestling match was organized, and Rama was going to kill Vali, but he couldn't determine which one is Vali and Vali won the fight. They set it up for a rematch and make Sugriva look different, but Tara, Vali's wife and advisor, is not fooled and cautions Vali, urging him to forgive Sugriva, to anoint him as the crown prince, as a diplomatic move, and live peacefully with him, and befriend the exalted Rama. Vali argues that a warrior like him cannot refuse a challenge. Despite this, he promises to not kill Sugriva, but just crush his pride. While fighting, Rama shoots an arrow at Vali from behind, fatally wounding him. Nice shot, magic bow, of course. Krista interjected. You were right, Krista. Vali did not deserve to die. Rama had killed Vali, but blessed Vali that he himself would die of his arrow, which he would fire by camouflage when Vishnu took the incarnation of Krishna. Later on, Vali was born as Jara the hunter in Devapara Yuga to kill Krishna, the next avatar of Vishnu, in the same way Rama killed him. Sugriva was too busy partying to remember his promise to Rama, so Lakshmana kicks down the city gate and threatens to destroy Kishkinda if Sugriva doesn't honor his pledge and send out search parties. The clever former ape queen Tara, wife of Vali, intervened to prevent an enraged Lakshmana from destroying the ape citadel. She convinces Sugriva to honor his pledge by sending out search parties to the four corners of the earth, north, east, and west. They all report back without a sign of their prey. The southern party under Angada, Tara and Vali's offspring and Hanuman learn from a vulture named Sampati that Sita was taken to Lanka. Errol asked, how did Sampati know where she had been taken? To which Sandy added, Sampati was the elder brother of Jatayu, whom you might remember died trying to save Sita. Of course, Lanka meant Sri Lanka. With his sharp vision, Sampati the vulture spotted Sita under an Ashoka tree in Lanka. Sandy took a moment, then began the next chapter, the Sundara Kanda. They travel to the shores of the ocean and the monkeys ask, who will fly to Lanka? Hanuman assumes a gargantuan form and makes a colossal leap across the sea to Lanka. A Rakshasa named Simhika captured his shadow. Simhika was a foe of the Vanara, so when Hanuman was crossing the ocean to Lanka, he assumed his gargantuan form, but what he didn't know is that Simhika was hiding in the ocean. She captured Hanuman's shadow with her magic. Hanuman had been forewarned about Simhika by Sugriva, and that's why he expanded his size. He observed Simhika's vulnerability when she followed suit and grew to a colossal size. When Hanuman turned himself small, Simhika swallowed him. It was a ploy by Hanuman, who came from within, ripping her apart and slaying her before he carried on his merry way. In other accounts, he merely kicked her to death. Sandy paused and continued, Hanuman decided to enter the heavily guarded city of Lanka in search of Sita, however the powerful demoness Lankini guarded the city. Lankini was once the guardian of the home of Brahma. As she guarded the home of the creator, she became arrogant and prideful about her position. She treated others in the palace with contempt, due to which she was cursed by Brahma to guard the city of demons forever. Lankini realized her mistake and begged forgiveness. However, it was not possible for Brahma to take back the curse, and instead he gave her a boon that she would be freed of the curse only when a Vanara defeated her in combat and brings to end the age of the demons. When accosted by Lankini and asked about his identity and purpose of his visit, like any good customs officer would do, Hanuman cleverly replies that he has come from the forest desiring to see the famed city of Lanka and its beauty. Sandy was saying when he was interrupted. Big tourists those Varana. He probably has a camera around his neck, Krista noted. Lankini realized that he was an intruder and attacked him. Mindful of the fact that she was a demoness, Hanuman softly strikes her back just enough to make her fall and bleed. A dazed and confused Lankini immediately realizes her opponent was no mere monkey and asks for his forgiveness, knowing that Brahma's prophecy had just come true. Hanuman forgave her as he prepares to continue his quest into Lanka, leaving Lankini behind. On the way, Hanuman meets with many challenges, such as facing a Gandharva in the form of a demon that tested his abilities. What are Gandharva, Sandy? Uncle Artis asked. Gandharva are celestial beings whose males are divine singers and whose females are divine dancers. Hanuman explored Ravana's kingdom and spied on the demon himself. Eventually he located Sita in the Ashoka Grove, where she was being wooed and threatened at the same time by Ravana and his Rakshasas. They wanted her to marry him but threatened her if she didn't. Isn't that an all too familiar scenario? Demon woos girl, girl says no, demon threatens girl, Krista said, and we laughed. And there's a big monkey in a trench coat watching them from behind a tree. Hanuman lurks around in the shadows, and after the Rakshasas leave, he comes out of hiding to approach Sita. He narrates Rama's story to Sita and shows her Rama's signet ring he sent. Sita was overjoyed but tells Hanuman she has only 2 months to decide between marriage or death. Brutal, Magda noted. Hanuman reassured Sita, giving her Rama's signet ring as a sign of good faith, and offers to carry her back to Rama. She refuses and says that it's not the right Dharma. Dharma, the right way to live? Cheesy asked. Yes, it will not have significance if Hanuman carries her to Rama. Sita is quoted, when Rama was not there, Ravana carried Sita forcibly, and when Ravana was not there, Hanuman carried Sita back to Rama. Hanuman promised her he and Rama would return for her before the 2 months she had been given by Ravana to make up her mind about marrying him. As Hanuman was about to leave, Sita gave him her jewelry as a token of her love for Rama. He's going back empty-handed. Some search and rescue there was a artist. Don't hire a bleedin' monkey. That's the moral. Uncle Arthur replied sarcastically. Hanuman was upset, so he wreaked havoc on Lanka, destroying trees and buildings while killing Ravana's warriors. Realizing this wouldn't get him Ravana, he allowed himself to be captured, bound, and delivered to Ravana. Once standing in front of him, he gave Ravana a tongue lashing about releasing Sita. Like that's gonna help, Krista complained. Yeah, Ravana laughs and condemns Hanuman to have his tail set on fire. However, he is foisted by his own petard. Hanuman escapes his chains and leaps from roof to roof, setting fire to Ravana's citadel. Then he makes the giant leap back from the island to India. Sandy takes a deep breath and stands to stretch his legs. In the next chapter, the Yuddha Kanda, our sage follows the war between the army of Rama and the army of Ravana. Having received Hanuman's report on Sita, Rama and Lakshmana proceed, with their allies, towards the shore of the southern sea on their way to Lanka. There they were joined by Ravana's renegade brother Prince Vibhishana, who was willing to fight against his brother. Vibhishana was the younger brother of Ravana, the king of Lanka. Though a Rakshasa himself, Vibhishana turned his back on Ravana owing to his dharma. Prince Vibhishana was portrayed as a pious and pure of heart. After performing a penance to invoke a boon from Brahma, he begged the deity to always set his mind on the path to righteousness, and nothing more. He divulged the secrets of Ravana's army to make sure Rama was victorious in the great battle. How are they going to get to Lanka, Sandy? Krista asked in a voice she obviously saved for setting up the next exciting event. The apes, Neela and Nala, construct a floating bridge known as the Rama Setu across the sea using stones that could float on water. Neela, who was the commander-in-chief of the monkey army and could get the stones to float on water by writing Rama's name on them. Twin brother apes, Neela and Nala, constructed a floating bridge known as the Rama Setu across the sea using stones that could float on water. The princes and their armies crossed over the floating bridge across the ocean between Rameswaram to Lanka. Neela, who was the commander-in-chief of the monkey army, could get the stones to float on water by writing Rama's name on them. In their youth, these monkeys were very mischievous and would throw the holy icons worshipped by the sages into the water. As a remedy, they decreed any stone thrown by them in the water would not drown, thus saving the Murtis. Nala was the Vanara credited as the engineer of the Rama Setu. He was the son of the architect god Vishwakarma. The bridge is also known as Nala Setu, the Bridge of Nala. Sandy continued, a lengthy war ensued, and during one particular battle, Ravana's son Indrajit hurled a powerful weapon at Lakshmana that badly wounded him. Hanuman, who knew how to cure Lakshmana, assumed his gigantic form, and flew from Lanka to the Himalayas, coming to rest on Mount Sumeru. He looked for an herb he knew could cure Lakshmana, but couldn't find it, so he decided to bring the entire mountain back to Lanka. Wow, that's one big-ass monkey, Cheesy said and whistled. Errol added, he makes Godzilla look like a chimp. Sandy went on, Rama pursued Ravana in his chariot and fired golden arrows at him which turned into serpents as they reached Ravana. The arrows cut off Ravana's many heads, but the heads immediately grew back. Many heads, Uncle Artis exclaimed, and Sandy corrected himself. Oh yes, don't forget that Ravana had 10 heads. He was cutting them off for Brahma to earn a boon. I guess I didn't tell you they grew back. Good catch, Uncle Artis, you're paying attention. The fight went on for days and right through the nights as Ravana shot hundreds of arrows back at Rama. They were engaged in a fight to the death. Matali, Rama's charioteer, watched the struggle and suggested to Rama, to kill Ravana you must use the dreaded arrow of Brahma, given to you by Agastya, which never misses its target. Sweet, magic arrow. Straight from Brahma, can't miss. What was he saving it for? Cheesy exclaimed. Sandy confirms the arrow's potency. Rama shoots the divine arrow which pierces Ravana's heart and kills him. Everyone gave a cheer for Rama that turned into a chant, Rama's good, Rama's great. Rama then installs Prince Vibhishana as king of Lanka. Out with the bad brother, in with the good brother. Upon meeting Sita for the first time, Rama says, the dishonor dealt to Rama and the wrong dealt to Sita by Ravana has been wiped out by this victory with the assistance of Hanuman, Sugriva and Vibhishana. Then Rama and his posse returned home to India. Krista interjected, yeah, Rama seems like a guy who would refer to himself by his own first name. He didn't give his brother any credit either. Oh, what a happy ending, Magda said. Sandy replied, I'm sorry Magda, but there is so much more to this story. Ha, Sandy pulled an M. Night Shyamalan on us. What a twist, Cheesy announced. Ever since her return, Rama had been somewhat suspicious of the character of Sita. After all, she had just spent time in the company of Ravana, a charming 10-headed demon. So, Rama disowns her and asks her to ply her trade elsewhere. Sita asked Rama why she was not abandoned when Hanuman came to her in Lanka. When she doesn't like the answer, she requests Lakshmana to prepare a pyre for her to enter and prays to the god Agni. Sita enters the pyre to prove her conjugal fidelity. The god Agni appears, in person, from the burning pyre, carrying Sita in his arms and restores her to Rama, thereby testifying to her purity. Rama joyfully accepts her. Everyone applauded. End one book, start the next. In the Uttara-kanda, sage Valmiki talks about Rama's reign of Ayodhya, the birth of his sons and the Ashvamedha Yajna. The time for Rama's exile to expire arrived and he returns to Ayodhya with Sita, Lakshmana, and Hanuman, where a great coronation is performed. Sandy paused and then continued. When asked to prove his devotion to Rama, Hanuman rips his chest open and on his chest is an image of Rama and Sita. For some reason that struck everyone's funny bone and a hysterical laughter went up. Rama ruled Ayodhya, where his reign was referred to as Ram Raja, or a place where the common folk are happy, fulfilled, and satisfied. One day while strolling through town, as kings often do, Rama overheard the conversation of a fisherman and his wife. The wife allegedly spent the night in his absence and the fisherman was furious. The fisherman said to his wife, "Do you think I am Rama who will take you back?" And he dispatched her. That upsets Rama because Sita had proven to everyone that she was pure through the Agni Parvesh. When Sita got wind of the incident, she insisted on going into exile because Ayodhya was more important than she was. Sita was so self-sacrificing. Magda noted and feigned a mock tear and Krista pretended to comfort her. Rama tried to stop her, but she went with Lakshmana into the forest. In the forest, Sita found refuge in sage Valmiki's ashram where she gave birth to twin sons, Lava and Kusha. And before you can ask Krista, less than 9 months. Meanwhile back in Ayodhya, Rama conducts an Ashvamedha Yajna, which is a holy declaration of the authority of the king. The Ashvamedha was a horse sacrifice ritual used by kings to prove their imperial sovereignty. A horse, accompanied by the king's warriors, would be released to wander freely for a year. In the territory traversed by the horse, any rival could dispute the king's authority by challenging the warriors accompanying it. After 1 year, if no enemy had managed to kill or capture the horse, the animal would be guided back to the king's capital. The horse would be sacrificed, and the king would be declared the undisputed sovereign of all the land the horse traversed. The horse to be sacrificed must be a white stallion with black spots. Construction of a special, sacrificial house, and a fire altar. During the Ashvamedha ceremony, sage Valmiki brought Lava and Kusha to attend along with Sita in disguise. The Ashvamedha was a horse sacrifice ritual where a horse, accompanied by the king's warriors, would be released to wander the territory for a year. In the territory covered by the horse, any rival could dispute the king's authority by challenging the warriors accompanying the horse and taking it. After 1 year, if no enemy managed to kill or capture the horse, the animal would be guided back to the king's capital where it would be sacrificed, and the king declared the undisputed sovereign. This actual ceremony was practiced many times in the 1600s. As a king, did Rama have to perform many yajna for which a wife was essential? Krista asked. Uncle Arthur interjected, "What's a yajna?" A yajna is a ritual performed in front of a sacred fire while chanting mantras, but it can have many other facets to it as well. When Rama's spiritual master told him to marry another wife, Rama flatly refused. He asked his spiritual master for an alternative and was told that a statue of pure gold could be substituted for his better half during a yajna. Sweet, gold always smooths things over though, doesn't it? Cheesy rhetorically asked. Not just one gold statue Cheesy, but every time he had to perform a yajna, he had to create a new statue. I guess gold is not reusable from a spiritual perspective. Rama soon got himself into a bit of a funk and began thinking the time may have come for him to wind up his divine clay on earth and return to his godly abode. He's confronted by all of the golden statues of Sita who say to him, "How can you leave us and go alone? Who will take care of all your wives? As an ideal husband you must take us with you." This made Rama feel awkward and he said, "How can I take you all as my wife? I cannot take more than one wife, but I promise all of you that in my next incarnation I will accept all of you as my wife. You will all become my intimate gopis." Sweet deal for Rama Sandi, but what exactly is a gopis? Krista had to ask. Gopi is a Sanskrit word used to refer to the wives of Gopa of Braj. Gopis are famous within the Vaishnavism for their unconditional devotion to Krishna. That story is described in the Bhagavata Purana. It might not be a good enough deal for you, Krista, but the golden statues were appeased. Meanwhile, back in the forest, Sita was staying at Valmiki's house with her twins, and the Ashvamedha horse was prancing about the local forest. Lava and Kusha, the twins, captured the horse and defeated the entire army of Ayodhya which came to protect it. After all, they were the sons of Rama, weren't they? Then the brothers battled their uncles in single file order, Shatrana, Lakshmana and then Bharata, to the defeat of each. Rama himself had to take the battlefield along with Hanuman. The battle didn't go well for Hanuman because Lava and Kusha took him prisoner and delivered him to their mother Sita. When Sita saw Hanuman bound up, she told the boys to release him, and then she sought sage Valmiki's help. Valmiki told her to let nature take its course and wait to see what happens. Then Valmiki told the boys, "Rama's your father. Go touch his feet and beg his pardon for your rudeness." The boys did that, and Rama accepted their apology, recognizing him as his sons. Sandy said, "Are all his brothers dead?" Errol asked. "Of course not." Sage Valmiki sprinkled a little magic water on Shatrana, Lakshmana and Bharata to revive them. In that reality, the dead don't stay dead forever. Valmiki advises the brothers to go to Ayodhya and tell the story of Sita's sacrifice to the common folk. They face many difficulties convincing people. Hanuman decides to help the boys and finds out Nagrasen, who has a history of hatred towards Sita, is challenging Sita's character and asking that she prove her purity once again. Again. How many times does this poor girl have to prove herself? Krista demanded. Sita is consumed by emotion and decides to return to Mother Earth from whence she came. She says, "If I am pure, this earth will open and swallow me whole." And at that very moment the earth opened and swallowed Sita whole. Sandy paused for people to take it in. Rama continued to rule Ayodhya for many years until finally he takes Samadhi into the Sarayu River along with his 3 brothers and leaves this world to return to Vaikuntha. In his godly realm of Vaikuntha, Rama is Vishnu, Lakshmana is Shesh, Bharata is Vishnu's conch and Shatrana is the Sudarshan chakra. And just for Krista, Sita is there in Vaikuntha in the form of Lakshmi. Perhaps we can have a Lakshmi story sometime in the future. You'd like her? In the northern, central, and western states of India, the festival known as Dussehra marks the day when Lord Rama killed the demon king Ravana. Other parts of India celebrate the festival of Dussehra for different reasons. My personal favorite festival is Diwali, which symbolizes the spiritual victory of light over darkness, good over evil, and knowledge over ignorance. The festival in some regions is a celebration of the day Rama returned to Ayodhya.